Welcome everyone to our first Town Circle. We're super excited for this, and obviously, the folks who are joining us are super early members of our budding Radius community. We're just grateful that you're here and excited to chat about some of the things that we had in store today. So I think we're trying to structure these so that we have some amount of presentations. Probably over time it'll include things like demos from our community and things. Today, since this is the first one, I was going to do a brief update about where we are right now with Radius and any other things that you may just want the community to be aware of. And then Isabel and Brian, if you guys want to chime in with any of the things that you're tracking to, things that the community should know about today, then that'd be great. And yeah, and I think we had a number of topics that we thought would be nice to prompt conversation with folks as well. Just like lots of requests for feedback and ideas that you may have for how to improve what we're doing with Radius, and any initiatives that you may be excited to start or seed the community with, which may be things that we're not thinking about at all. So then we'll go to that. Okay, so in terms of the latest Radius news and updates, so I think we've been posting about some of these things on our various channels, but we did our brand launch 2 weeks ago now, I believe, and then we launched a number of important features during that time. Something that we haven't mentioned in a written update yet, but we've been working on in the background is a number of new features for a couple of big areas that we think are going to be important for the Radius products. So this includes having more native support for Teams directly on Radius, and what this will look like is that you as a user can directly apply for projects and work on projects yourself, or you can also assemble teams within the community or people that you've maybe already worked with in the past that are Radius users, and register those teams formally on the Radius network, and then be able to apply as a team and manage work as a team as well. And we're also leveraging some interesting, this is all in the product today, but it'll also be longer term. We have protocol design that we're working on that will also mimic the same structure, but things like being able to set up reward splits between team members and stuff like that. Kind of, if you are familiar with mirror splits or radical drips or other projects like that, we're building features like that into Radius as well. And then we're also building out a flow for ecosystems to kind of have a home on Radius too. So, if you're interested in getting involved in the FilePoint ecosystem or in the Uniswap ecosystem or Tableland ecosystem or whatever, you should be able to go to an ecosystems homepage where there's some description about what the ecosystem does, the grants that are specifically, related to that ecosystem. Also, an area where you can apply for open grants. Just come with your proposal for what a project that you're interested in working on that you would like to have funded, and then also learning materials as well. So that's kind of one new set of features that we're building out. And then the third big category right now is looking at supporting more different types of grants on the platform. So today we only have the what we call project style grants or directed grants, where there's kind of a scope of work and asking people to meet that scope of work. But in the near future, we're also going to have support for role style grants. So it's kind of like contract roles for different Web3 companies and ecosystems. Also RFP style grants, where there is a description of a problem statement, but then requesting proposals from the community for different solutions that can address that problem statement. And then the open grants, which is kind of related to the ecosystem hub idea that I just mentioned. So anyways, those are some of the things that we're working on in the background, which folks may not know about, but we're really excited to launch soon. And then in addition to that, we have a few folks who are going to be in Austin this week. So it sounds like maybe, I'm not sure if either of you will be there, but if folks are in Austin, I think we'd love to meet up with y'all there. And then what else? And then this is maybe more getting into the discussion topic section, but we're about to start to launch our speaker series as well. And so that's something that's coming up that we wanted some feedback on for what are the topics that would be interesting. Okay, that's from me. I don't know, Isabel or Brian, if you wanted to add anything else to that.
I think that was a great overview. Thank you, Pooja. I don't know if Isabel, you want to share anything, or if we want to open up. I don't know if the folks here had gotten a chance to see the topics we wanted to explore during this session. If we might want to start looking at, some of those areas to help inform the next movements of this community.
Yeah, I feel like Pooja did a great job of encompassing everything that we're working and that, those are things that we've been talking about in a lot of our conversations about what people want and what people need, that have been kind of inbound. So would love to open it up to Rudini and Sin to see if y'all have any feedback on, things that you might want to see or, anything about like speakers that you would want to like engage with. Open floor to both of you. Yes, for Rudini and Sin.
I'm like, Rudini, if you want to go ahead.
I think the only thing that comes to mind is like, it sounds like there's a lot of at once. Is the team working on this? Is it just you guys, or is it more than like a larger team?
Larger team.
Okay.
Yeah, we are the ones who deal most closely with kind of community and growth and marketing and partnerships and things like that. But we also have folks who are, we have an engineering team and some product designers and someone on the content side and someone who recently joined us who is our people lead, but also is kind of helping design like network-wide people systems as well. So yeah.
Okay. I was curious if you. Sorry, the push to talk functionalities.
Yeah, I think we need to. Okay, let me see if it's. I'm just gonna. Okay. Let me save those changes. I don't know if you.
I don't know if it did anything. I still have to push the topic. That's okay.
Okay, we'll figure this out for sure. On the next one.
I was kind of curious about. Well, I understand this is a loaded question, but I did apply for like the generalist role.
Oh, cool.
So
the startup operator role.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I don't know if that's something you guys are actually looking to fill. I basically do that for my current job now. I do.
Oh, nice.
I work at an accounting firm on their crypto team as a product manager and project manager. And by trade, I'm an engineer, so I understand processes very well. So
that's super great. Well, cool. We'll definitely take a look at the application. Yeah, and to give a bit of a flavor of what that role would be involved with, it's so it's like a number of things. So setting up some of the operational systems for the Radius team and helping with like community management processes and things like that, but also just for like the company, which is Tephra Labs. And then there's also helping to spin up our fellowship program, building out there are a number of different networks that we plan to build, which are today going to be more manual or not decentralized, but the plan is longer term for these to be more decentralized and protocol incentivized networks. But there are people who can provide project management and technical evaluation support and things like that for projects that are happening on via Radius. And so, so this role would be kind of helping us spin up these various systems. So that's awesome that you applied, and we'll definitely.
That sounds like my dream job, to be honest.
Great. Well, that's awesome. Cool.
Yeah. That's all I have.
Okay, awesome. Yep, I think some of the topics that we were thinking would be interesting. I mean, if there are, I don't know, Sin or Sigtastic who just joined us, if y'all have open thoughts, but we also did have specific prompts for conversation just for your feedback as well. So
maybe just give a quick comment from my side that just I found also the head company, I guess, the website for Tetra Labs. If I was not wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the labs. Sorry, I can't remember the exact name. And I just really like the idea about that, so that's why I actually joined Radius, just to see what you're working on, and to kind of see at what stage you guys are at. And I'm just kind of here, lurking, stalking, let's call it that, seeing what you're all about. And I personally am recently inside Web3, so I'm kind of curious to see what you're going to be doing here, and to see if I can get involved eventually at some point somehow. Actually, did have a few questions towards you, Pooja, but I did send you a friend request because I can't DM you otherwise.
Oh, okay. On Twitter or here on Discord?
On Discord.
Oh, great. Okay, cool. Awesome.
But other than that, you do your thing, guys. I'm just gonna listen in, and if I have some questions or comments, I'll make sure I'll make myself noticeable.
Okay, sounds great. Well, out of curiosity, what discipline are you in today? Or like, I guess to ask the question differently, what do you do?
So I am currently in Web 2, doing my transition from Web 2 to Web 3. In Web 2 world, I work in sales, biz dev.
Oh, nice.
Essentially, we built a company that sold e-commerce automation cybersecurity solutions. But that kind of went out of say market, so it's not interesting anymore. So it's a good time for me to make the transition to Web3. And currently I am involved in one DAO in the ops section. Essentially head of ops and just dealing that side, but kind of gonna keep my options open to see what's out there.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I guess like I do have a question for you as well, which is around what types of, as you've been entering the space, what are some of the things that have been difficult to understand? I'm curious also how you found this DAO, and yeah, I don't know, for people who are maybe looking to make a similar, if you would have any advice. Yeah.
So for me personally, it wasn't too difficult to find these things, as I built my business fully through Discord. So I'm
cool.
a Discord native for the last few years. So finding servers and communities and understanding how they work is fairly, straightforward for me. I guess the challenging part is finding projects that are not dead.
Yep.
As you go, specifically for me, I'm interested in, let's say, early stage or DAOs, or something where it's more interesting. And it's fairly difficult to find ones that are active. But other than that, yeah, it's mostly that actually.
Okay. And then once you did find ones that were active, how did you get to the point where you found a role within those communities?
So actually, I was invited to be head of ops for one of them. I just had my information floating around somewhere, and then one of the co-founders there just reached out to me.
Oh, nice. Okay, that's great. Cool. And then has there been anything in terms of topics that you think are important for folks who are getting into Web3, but that maybe were difficult to understand?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things that people do need to understand that what are the roles besides developers in this space. Because people do forget that there's ops, marketing, all of these other things that are included. It's not just the dev run niche, let's say that. And I think that's the biggest challenge for people to understand what exactly are these roles. This is something of a side mission that I have decided to take on myself also, is to kind of document my journey inside Web3 and also inform people about the different opportunities that there are, starting from ops and governance that are my two interests right now, going towards community management, biz dev, and all of those things.
Yep, that's awesome.
Education, as always.
Yep, that is really great. Awesome. Cool. Well, we'd love to. I mean, I think when you get to if that's something you'd be interested in collaborating on, that is something that we are also, trying to, for example, with the fellowship, that's something that we're really trying to do is like help educate people about different opportunities. Also, some of it mimics the structure of the curriculum that we shared. I don't know if folks have had a chance to look at that, um, but yeah, really wanting to have like a smoother entry point for people so they don't have to do as much like self investigation. And it sounds like you've done already a lot of that. So yeah, it'd be cool to collaborate on that when we get there.
Definitely.
So,
I think my topics were probably more product focused.
yeah,
So I don't know if you want to talk about that now.
sure. That'd be awesome. Like product feedback.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah. So like, I was thinking that it'd probably be really nice to do sign with Ethereum integration.
Hmm.
Obviously,
Yep.
obviously, right now it's kind of like manually done. But then by doing that, you don't have to worry about usernames because it'd be picked up by ENS. Um, so you don't have to worry about people like having a different username where it's like Instagram versus Twitter. You can utilize the one uh, standard.
Yes. I think this is a really good idea. This is something that we have been struggling with actually because so originally we had something closer to that, which was like Connect Wallet, but we recently changed that to GitHub Auth or Wallet, email Auth, and the reason is because we want Radius to be able to serve a number of different ecosystems very natively and not really have it feel like kind of this secondhand experience. That's kind of like a weird thing today. I know the folks at OpenSea pretty well, and like it's a weird thing on the OpenSea platform where they now have Solana support, but in order to access Solana and pay for things with the Sol token, Solana token, you have to like log out. And then log in again, yeah, which was like kind of that's why we were just like, okay, yeah,
It's
go
because
ahead.
it's not easy. It's not the same wallet infrastructure. It's not
Yeah,
EVM
exactly.
compatible. Yeah.
Right. So that's why we were just like, log in with like GitHub or email, create a username, and then like we're gonna have a section in the in the settings area where you can connect various wallets. But it's not really like the perfect flow either. So um,
Yeah.
I'm not sure sign in with Ethereum is as well for that same reason, but
I think it
there's
could
probably
be either
something
or.
better.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think the option is important, right? If if someone wants to prefer like the one click
Yeah.
experience of using their wallet, it's awesome. Or if they want to
Yeah.
use an email, that's awesome too. 'Cause that also
Yep.
works for people that aren't using wallets at all. Email is how we sign
Yeah,
into
exactly.
things currently.
Exactly. Yeah.
But as far
Yep.
as like a proof of concept, it's gonna be impossible to build everything perfectly
Yeah.
the first try.
Yep. Yeah, the other option here too was like to do some sort of DID integration. But I don't think that users are like I don't know that like I haven't really directly explored those solutions to see how mature they are yet. So I don't know if you have experience with like
What's
Ceramic or
what's DID?
oh sorry, decentralized identity. So like Ceramic or Spruce.
Oh, oh
I
yeah,
think are the
yes.
big one.
Yeah, Spruce is the big one for signing with
Yeah.
Ethereum that I know of. Um,
Yeah. Right.
I know that I think that Dune Analytics uses Spruce.
Oh, okay.
So
Cool.
yeah,
Nice. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's a good suggestion. Great.
yeah.
Okay. What else? What else were you thinking?
I have a million things I'm sure off the top of my head, but I'm still trying to get this coded test to be
Okay.
done.
Okay.
But so I might have to run, but I can work on a list. I'd
Okay.
also already submitted a proposal for on Radius, or like a proposal for one of the jobs. I
Oh,
had this
nice.
idea, like something I've been doing at my current job that I think would be really useful for your team is like building an entire Notion backend, like knowledge base,
Hmm.
so that you can basically culminate resources, everything from a job board to job guides to YouTube links, research articles. Um,
Oh,
I basically did that with my current team, um, but so it's a lot of work, but I think it's a very very powerful tool.
very interesting. Super cool. Um, That's in response to one of the project you said?
Well, it was kind of inspired by like the ask of like researching IPFS,
Mm-hmm.
and then I kind of took it one step further and said, well, where is this file going to go? Is it like,
Yeah.
am I just going to send it to one person, and then is this going to be lost forever? So it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like I've been really interested in like collective intelligence and like
Mm-hmm.
hive knowledge. So
Oh
that's
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
yeah,
and that's why you mentioned the Arweave as well. Yeah,
yep,
makes sense. Cool. Okay. That's it. Sounds really interesting. We'll definitely take a look, taking notes on all this stuff. So yeah, it's
yeah.
great. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, you guys. Nice meeting you all.
Nice meeting you.
All right, bye.
See ya. Bye. Awesome. All right. What else? Any of these other topics, Isabel, that you think would be good to double click on?
I mean, I think most of my questions for our community are around like what kind of content is like the most interesting to
Mm.
receive like from like our social feeds or Discord, and is there like a format in which it's better for like our community specifically? Then I don't know if you follow us on Twitter, but like if you like our tweets, are they useful? Like, do they stand out at all? If there's any of that kind of feedback, that would be great.
Honestly, I actually found you guys like 2 days ago at the middle of the night, so I didn't do much research on it. Just read the website and a bit of the content overall, so that got me interested. So definitely, you're doing something right there.
Okay, awesome. Yeah.
That's great.
I mean, those are all the questions I have. I actually have to jump off for more social media strategy talks. So I'm looking forward to hearing what the rest of this conversation sounds like, and I will tune in and share this stream out via Twitter.
Awesome. Thanks. See
Thanks,
you.
Isabel. Sin, I'm curious what part of Tefra's mission was most inspiring to you?
Um, the, well, I need to go there to look there at specifically, but the whole notion of it, I liked it about just the whole thing. Sorry, it's a long day. Brain's a bit shutting off. Just the whole concept about the mission, how it is, and how that kind of connected with how I see it happening in some sense.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the things also that we've been thinking about, but we haven't, this is probably a little bit longer term down the road for us, but we are sort of involved in a number of DeSci communities. And a topic in DeSci conversations more recently has been around, I don't think I've mentioned this, I'm not sure, but let me know if I'm repeating myself, but is around this idea of tech trees, which basically are roadmaps for certain areas of scientific research or technological areas, and kind of generating this knowledge graph, but also kind of like a roadmap for existing knowledge, but also for areas that have not yet been sufficiently explored, but could be promising directions for like some particular space. So, doing this for longevity research, and you can imagine doing this for climate change and other things too. And what we've been talking about with some of the folks in those communities is being able to develop mechanisms so that funders can allocate capital to nodes on these types of tech trees, and then try to basically, by doing that, incentivizing people to work in those particular areas. And so that's something that's kind of like this sort of idea of like networked OKRs, which I think is in the Tefra Labs manifesto. And obviously we're starting from a really different place, but wanting to get to that because we think that, really for large scale coordination, incentive alignment is going to be really important for that, which is really how the world works, but there aren't like direct mechanisms today for incentive alignment with important problems. And so really that's kind of what we're trying to build. We did get some pushback recently. I got some pushback on this idea from someone who was like, well, the system you're building could end up we could end up in a world where just everything is like, we build these hyper efficient networks to coordinate people, which is good. That's kind of like the thing we're trying to build, because there's a lot of inefficiencies today. but then we also end up like having everything be incentivized, and there could end up being bad outcomes for this too, which we would need to protect against, right? But it's like people, if a bad actor just puts a ton of money against an objective which is bad for the world in some way, we could still end up with like large groups of people that are working in this direction, but that's like ultimately harmful for humanity. And so how do we mitigate that? I think is an interesting question. I don't know if folks have thoughts on that, but I do think that's one of the risks of doing things in this way, right? Technology being used for good and potentially evil, which we'd want to, try to mitigate the evil. So
That's awesome. I totally feel the enabling of collective intelligence through that type of funding mechanism.
yeah,
And the challenge of how people kind of come into the system and how they use technology is kind of this age-old challenge of the double-edged sword of technology. And for me, I've always just been under the guidance of like the consciousness or the sentiment or sensibility of the human, and where the human is coming from in their desire to build and create and innovate.
yeah,
And feeling like, that's a lot of the work that needs to be done right now in the world, and then specifically within Web3 in general, is trying to create a culture that is aligned with the most good for all. And so I have a particular interest in that, and love this idea to enable collective intelligence through aligning incentives and the funding mechanisms to kind of bring the resources to where the sense making is determined they need to be.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, two things that come to mind that are related to that is I remember this quote from Einstein. This was, I think, in the McCarthy era in the U.S., where, it seemed like the U.S. was going crazy, very far astray from a lot of like of the core values that the country had held for many decades prior to that. And there was this, I don't remember the exact quote, but this idea of there being a gyroscope, and and like, yes, sometimes the country would sway off center, but it always like found its way back to something that was reasonable, like longer term. And it's also kind of related. The other thing that I was thinking about, I was reading about Aragon Court yesterday, and their like dispute resolution mechanism and network, and how it's really it's very interesting what they're like. Whereas in today's traditional court system, what jurors are asked to do is to put their vote for what they think the objective truth is. And in the Aragon court system, what they're asking jurors to do is to try to identify what they think the modal response is going to be. Like, where do they think most of the people are going to vote? So it's trying to incentivize consensus more than anything else, and like achieve a Schelling point by doing that, which is super interesting. And I don't know, kind of related to this idea too, right? Also, obviously, Aragon Court is a more like, it's like a Web3 incentivized network of people. And I don't know, there could be some like mechanism there that we could also embed in how we're doing things here, so that it's like, trying to find what most people think or something is the right thing to do, even if it doesn't have the most money behind it. And that being like a way to maybe counterbalance like these like more negative uses of the network. I don't know.
Totally.
But some ideas.
Yeah. One of the interesting pieces that the Web3 space is going to have to reckon with is when all of these blockchains are kind of operating, growing, evolving through consensus as a mechanism of moving forward. The interesting thing is, like in life, actually the vibrancy of an ecosystem, one of the indicators of that is diversity. Like biodiversity is a really important ingredient towards a healthy ecology. And that will be, I think, it's like an open inquiry as to how Web3, as it continues to become an ecology, like an ecosystem, how we can embrace diversity in that and have multiple niches that are finding their own consensus, and then understanding how those niches can fit together in a harmonious way. So yeah,
Totally.
yeah.
Yep. I do very much. I agree with that. Although I also think that like the I think blockchains do have, or like decentralized networks in general, have much more of a chance of getting that right than the more top-down structures because it's just easier. Like even what we're doing right now, it's like a small group of people, but we're like spending the time to do this, and like I don't know, it's the sorts of things that just can crop up in a bottoms up way if there is explicit permission for those things to happen. Is just more likely to happen than in like a heavily controlled environment where there's only room for like X, Y, and Z types of interactions or connections or communities. So, yeah, and even if they're smaller, there may be like sufficient attention and financial liquidity for those groups that they can still survive. Whereas maybe they wouldn't in other things. Like many years ago, I was interested in, because I've been interested in education forever, and was interested in this idea of like a tutoring marketplace where people could basically look for tutoring support for like a number of different subjects. And the common criticism that idea got at the time was like, how do you build sufficient liquidity into these networks so that you have people who can provide tutoring in a number of different subjects to match the interest that's coming in from students who are looking to be tutored in a number of different subjects. I think if you run those systems as like a traditional like top-down marketplace, it's maybe harder to do that or harder to bootstrap it. But I think like the more bottoms up, like network oriented approach, I don't know, this maybe just easier to get like, again, one or two people who have like those skill sets, but then can still serve like the incoming community, or the users that are like looking for that or something. I'm not doing a good job describing this, but
I totally agree. I mean,
Yeah.
I do feel like it's one of the reasons why I'm so excited about Web3, because I do feel like it actually represents a possibility to getting there in a way that Web2 and the old
Yeah.
kind of systems just fully cannot, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's one of my greatest excitements for the potential of the space.
Yes.
Alex.
Hello, Alex.
I wonder if he's having microphone issues as well.
Could be. Yeah.
I tried to connect from my computer again and had the same problem again.
Interesting.
with my settings.
And I went into the permissions and it's fully unlocked, so I don't know why there's this continuous issue with it. What did you do, Sin,
Well, you
to
guys
unlock?
yeah, sorry.
What did you do to
Yeah, I went through, because natively on my computer I use Shift. It's an app where you can run multiple Discord accounts. As I said, I'm Discord native. So I at any point run at least a few. So that kind of limits my options. So I just went in from my phone to join this one. So it has that feature. I actually did open up the mission statement on the web just to kind of refresh my mind on this, and the thing that got me was that the world needs a new organizational structure, and what you guys were just discussing in some sense, where how I organized in the right way and incentivized in the right way, then it would do more good than bad, and it just comes down to how you govern it, I guess, to make it more interesting.
Yep.
Totally.
Where you limit the automation at some point, kind of let AIs take over, right?
Exactly. Yep. Human judgment is definitely going to be important.
Mm-hmm.
Certain systems for sure. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I guess we're at time almost.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Alex, we appreciate you
figure out-
popping in.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll figure out the microphone situation for next time. But Alex has been a super big fan of Radius and appreciate
From
you
the beginning.
from the beginning. OG.
From the DGM days.
Yeah, from the TGM days, exactly. And thank you, Sin, for joining us. And yeah, Pooja, it's been good first kickoff. It's fun to be here in the
First
early
kickoff.
days and seeing all of the like tech issues as we're just getting booted up. But it's been
Yeah.
really fun.
Thank you guys so much.
All right, cheers, everyone.
All right. See you soon.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.